we saw John Coffey drag a woman back, not just from the edge of her grave, but from what seemed to us to be the very bottom of it. I wrote and was very faintly aware of the Georgia Pines version of life going on around me. Old folks went down to supper, then trooped off to the resource center. Yes, you are permitted a chuckle, for their evening dose of network sitcoms. I seem to remember my friend Elaine bringing me a sandwich, and thanking her, and eating it, but I couldn't tell you what time of the evening she brought it, or what was in it. Most of me was back in 1932, when our sandwiches were usually bought off old Toot Toot's rolling gospel snack wagon, cold pork a nickel, corned beef a dime. I remember the place quieting down as the relics who live here made ready for another night of thin and troubled sleep. I heard Mickey, maybe not the best orderly in the place, but certainly the kindest, singing. Red River Valley in his good tenor as he went around dispensing the evening meds. From this valley they say you are going, we will miss your bright eyes and sweet smile. The song made me think of Melinda again, and what she had said to John after the miracle had happened. I dreamed of you. I dreamed you were wandering in the dark, and so was I. We found each other. Georgia pines grew quiet, midnight came and passed, and still I wrote. I got to Harry reminding us that, even though we had gotten John back to the prison without being discovered, we still had Percy waiting for us. The evening ain't over as long as we got him to contend with is more or less what Harry said. That's where my long day of driving my father's pen at last caught up with me. I put it down, just for a few seconds, I thought, so I could flex some life back into the fingers, and then I put my forehead down on my arm and closed my eyes to rest them. When I opened them again and raised my head, morning sun glared in at me through the windows. I looked at my watch and saw it was past 8. I had slept, head on arms like an old drunk, for what must have been 6 hours. I got up, wincing, trying to stretch some life into my back. I thought about going down to the kitchen, getting some toast, and going for my morning walk, then looked down at the sheafs of scribbled pages scattered across the desk. All at once I decided to put off the walk for a while. I had a chore, yes, but it could keep, and I didn't feel like playing hide and seek with Brad Dolan that morning. Instead of walking, I'd finish my story. Sometimes it's better to push on through, no matter how much your mind and body may protest. Sometimes it's the only way to get through. And what I remember most about that morning is how desperately I wanted to get free of John Coffey's persistent ghost. "Okay," I said. "One more mile. But first." I walked down to the toilet at the end of the second floor hall. As I stood inside there, urinating, I happened to glance up at the smoke detector on the ceiling. That made me think of Elaine, and how she had distracted Dolan so I could go for my walk and do my little chore the day before. I finished peeing with a grin on my face. I walked back to the sunroom, feeling better, and a lot comfier in my nether regions. Someone, Elaine, I have no doubt, had set down a pot of tea beside my pages. I drank greedily, first one cup, then another, before I even sat down. Then I resumed my place, uncapped the fountain pen, and once more began to write. I was just slipping fully into my story when a shadow fell on me. I looked up and felt a sinking in my stomach. It was Dolan standing between me and the windows. He was grinning. "Missed you going on your morning walk, Polly," he said, "so I thought I'd come and see what you were up to." "Make sure you weren't, sick." "You were all heart and a mile wide," I said. My voice sounded all right, so far, anyway, but my heart was pounding hard. I was afraid of him, and I don't think that realization was entirely new. He reminded me of Percy Wetmore, and I'd never been afraid of him, but when I knew Percy, I had been young. Brad's smile widened, but became no less pleasant. "Folks tellin' me you been in here all night, Polly, just writing your little report." "Now, that's just no good. Old farts like you need their beauty rest." "Percy," I began, then saw a frown crease his grin and realized my mistake. I took a deep breath and began again. "Brad, what have you got against me?" He looked puzzled for a moment, maybe a bit unsettled. Then the grin returned. "Old timer," he said, "could be I just don't like your face." "What you written, anyway?" Last will end testicles? He came forward, craning. I slapped my hand over the page I'd been working on. The rest of them I began to rake together with my free hand, crumpling some in my hurry to get them under my arm and under cover. Now, he said, as if speaking to a baby, that ain't going to work, you old sweetheart.